Mrichchhakatika, Act 9. This particular act represents a realistic picture of contemporary society and takes the action directly to the court of justice, where we have a presiding judge, Sakara or Samsthanaka, the brother in law of King Palaka, has brought serious charges. Serious charges against Charudatta, accused of killing Vasantasena. And through this trial scene, we will see how the justice is not done to Charudatta. So today we have the reading of Act 9 of Sudraka's Mrichchhakatika. Enter a beadle. The judges ordered me, "Hey, beadle, go to the courtroom and make ready the seats." So I now go to keep ready everything in the courtroom. He walks about and looks around him. Here is the courtroom. I will now enter. So he enters the courtroom, starts sweeping the courtroom, and places a seat. I have cleansed the courtroom and have kept the seats ready. And now I will tell the magistrates. So he walks about and looks around him. What? Here comes in this very direction the wicked and cruel man, the brother in law of the king. I will go away, avoiding his range of sight. So he remains in a retired place, and soon we find Sakara or Samsthanaka, the brother in law of King Palaka, in gorgeous apparel entering the stage. Sakara.
Like a Gandharva, I have bathed in pure water, seated in the pleasure garden of the house, amidst your amidst young ladies and with nymphs neatly decorated. Now I tie my hair, then twist them into a braid. I now loosen them into flowing tresses, and then gather them upwards into a graceful knot. Thus I, the king's brother-in-law, am a wonder, am a great wondrous thing. And besides, I have found a big hole similar to the one obtained by a worm searching for one, having entered into the interior of the knot of the fibrous lotus stalk. Now, on whom shall I lay blame of the wicked deed?
Now on whom shall I lay blame for the wicked deed? He starts recollecting. I remember now, in respect of this wicked deed, I would lay the charge as against the poor Charudatta. Beside, he is indeed a poor man, and everything would be considered possible so far as he is concerned. Good. So, in this way, he is trying to recollect what he has done. He is trying to reveal to us what he is going to do now. The microphone is off, I hope. Anushka, please.
Sir, due to network issue, I left.
Okay, continue.
Shall I read it again?
Yeah, and beside, you start.
And besides, I have found a big hole similar to the one obtained by a worm searching for one, having entered into the interior of the knot of the fibrous lotus stalk. Now, on whom shall I lay blame of the wicked deed? Ah, I remember now, in respect of this wicked deed, I would lay the charge as against the poor Charudatta. Besides, he is indeed a poor man, and everything would be considered possible so far as he is concerned. Good. I will be the first to enter the courtroom and lodge a complaint that Charudatta strangled Vasantasena and murdered her. So now I shall go direct to the courtroom. Here is the courtroom. I will go in. What? The seats are all quite arranged. Before long, the judges shall come here. I will be just sitting in the grassy quadrangular region and will wait for them.
So he goes there and keeps waiting. The beater is there, waiting about in another direction and looking before him. Here comes the judge, and I will then approach him. He does so, and then we find on the stage the judge entering, accompanied by the guild president, scribes, and the clerk. So the judge says,
Guild President, Clerk, Guild President and Clerk, we await your bidding. Judicial trial indeed depends to such an extent upon others that it is really very difficult for the judges to penetrate into the hearts of others and read their thoughts. Men put forth deeds that are devoid of righteousness and that are kept secret. Overcome with feelings of their own interest, they speak of no offense of their own in the court of justice. The king is assailed by the various offenses exaggerated by both the litigating parties. In short, censure is very easy to earn by a judge, while the being praised are far and few. And again, men in their anger, devoid all of all equity, often point to crimes committed in secrecy, but they never speak of their own faults before the tribunal. Even the really virtuous and innocent people and those who sinned with the plaintiff and the defendant too, all alike suffer indeed. In short, censure is very easy for a judge to earn, but the chances of his being praised are far and few. For a judge should be learned and skilled in training fraud. He must be eloquent and dispassionate, and must know equal grace to friend, foe, and kinsman. He must pronounce his judgment only after due investigation. He must defend the weak and punish the knave. He must not swerve from the path of virtue, nor must he be avaricious. He must sincerely set his heart on discovering the absolute truth and at the same time avoid the anger of the king.
so the guild
To
president
guild
and clerk.
president and clerk,
Yeah.
do men speak at all? Defects in your lordship amidst your virtues? If so, then they speak of darkness in the moonlight.
The judge
My
says,
good beadle, direct me the way to the court of justice.
come alone, your honor, come alone. So they start walking about. Here is the court of justice. May the magistrates be pleased to enter. So all of them enter the stage. We have heard that the judge talks about the norms of justice, how justice should be equitable to all. It should be blindfolded. It should not have any kind of partition attitude or should not favor others. Now the judge says,
My good beadle, go outside and learn who are these that desire to institute a case.
yes, sir. So he goes out. Gentlemen, the judges asks if there is any who desires to institute a case. So Sakara is with great joy. He has been waiting. So Sakara says,
The judges are here.
he keeps strutting. Strutting means moving about the stage in a very proud manner. He
I
says,
am an excellent personage, a man, a Vasudeva, the brother in law of the king, the royal brother in law, and I desire to present a case.
so the beadle is also excited by hearing these, and Sakara is showing off his position as the royal brother in law of the king. The beadle says, Alas, the king's brother in law is the first to present a case. Good, sir, please wait a while I shall inform the judges of this. So he approaches the judges. Gentlemen, here is the king's brother in law who has come to court desirous to present a case.
What? What? The king's brother in law is the first who desires to present a case, like an eclipse at sunrise. This evidently bespeaks the ruin of some great man. Beadle, the suits of today must be very perplexing and complicate. My good man, go forth and say to him, please go today, your suit cannot be considered.
Oh, yes, your honor. So Beetle goes out and approaches Samsthanaka or Sakara. Sir, the judges send word that you are to go today and that your suit cannot be considered. On hearing this, Sakara is very angry and with great indignation, Sakara says,
What? Why shall not my suit be considered, huh? If it isn't considered, then I will tell my brother in law, King Palaka, my sister's husband, and I will tell my mother and my sister too, and I will have this judge removed and another judge appointed.
so he starts to go away. So he is very angry because the judge is not allowing his petition. The beadle there says, Oh, sir, brother in law of the king, wait a moment. I will inform the judges of this. So he goes to approach the judge. The brother in law of the king is angry and says, "Uh," so he repeats the words, the brother in law of the king, he says that he will go and complain to the king. The judge says,
Hmm, this fool might do anything. My good man, tell him, come in, your suit will be considered.
Now Beetle is satisfied. He approaches Samsthanaka or Sakara and asks him to come again. Sir, the judges sent you word that you are to come in and that your suit will be considered. Pray, please enter, sir.
First, they say it won't be considered. Then, now they say it will be considered. Evidently, the judges are very timid. Whatever I say, I will make them believe it. Good, I will go in.
So he enters and approaches the judges.
We are doing very well. Your happiness I may or may not grant.
The judge speaks to himself and says,
The firm determination of one who seeks the aid of law is indeed highly wonderful. And aloud, pray be seated.
Well, this floor is mine and I will sit down wherever I like. I shall sit here. Why shouldn't I sit here? I will sit here.
so we see that this man is acting in a very funny manner and boasting that he is the brother in law of King Palaka. So he even lays his hand on the judge's head and then finally he sits on the floor. The judge says,
You desire to lodge a complaint.
Of course.
Then state the case.
I will whisper it near your ears. I was born in a great family, glorious as a wine glass. My father is the father in law of the king. My father's son in law is this king. I am the king's brother in law, and the king is my sister's husband.
Look at this person, Sakara. So Sankara is bombastic, very loud, and always showing off his position and power. The same thing he's saying, the father is a father in law, my father's son in law is the king. So the same position he is flouting, he's showing off to others. The judge says,
Everything is well known. What is the use of proclaiming a noble birth? Character alone is the best criterion herein. Thorns, weeds, thorns and weeds grow abundantly on a fertile soil. So narrate your case.
I will say this, and even if I was guilty, he wouldn't do anything to me. Well, my brother in law, the king, being pleased with me, gave me the best of all gardens, the old garden Pushpakaranda, to play in and look after it. And there I go every day to look at it, to keep it dry, to keep it clean, to keep it luxuriant, and to keep it trimmed. By my destiny or fate, I see, rather, I don't see, the dead body of a woman.
Do you know who the lady was?
Hello, magistrate. How could I not know her? A woman like that, who is the ornament of the city and who is herself decked with hundreds of ornaments by some wicked and mean fellow Vasantasena for the sake of a mere trifling thing, was enticed into the old garden Pushpakaranda when it was lonely, and she was forcibly strangled and murdered there, but not by me.
so we find Sakara telling about the crime and just washing off his hand. Thus half saying he covers his face because he's lying. So the judge says,
The carelessness of the watchman of the city is highly deplorable. Guild president and clerk first note down, not by me, as a subject of the legal proceeding.
yes, Progya play the role of clerk.
Yes, Your Honor. Sir, it is written.
Alas, now I have ruined myself like the mendicant who feasted in a hurry on hot pies. Well, I will get out of it in this way. Well, magistrates, I say that not by me was it seen. What are you making this hubbub for?
So he wipes it out with his foot. That was written. So see how arrogant he is. So judge says,
Hmm. How do you know that she was strangled and that for the sake of wealth?
Hello, really, I infer so much because her neck was swollen and bare, and the places where ornaments are worn were without any.
yes, guild president and clerk.
That seems plausible.
Sakara to himself speaks.
Fortunately, life has been infused into me again. Hooray!
Sir, upon whom does the conduct of the shoot depend?
So he even asks, whom else do we require in this case? So the judge says,
Every suit in this respect has a twofold aspect.
How so?
One in the light of the allegations, the other in the light of actual facts. Now, the investigation of the allegations is left between the plaintiff and the defendant, while the investigation of the facts must be carried out by the wisdom of the judge.
Then the conduct of the case depends on Vashantasena's mother.
Exactly so, my good Beadle. Summon Vasant Sena's mother without giving her cause for anxiety.
yes, your honor. So we find the beadle is going out and returning with the mother of the courtesan. Come along, madam, come along, come along. The old woman enters and says,
My daughter went to the house of a friend to enjoy her youth, but now comes this long lived gentleman and says, "Come, the judge summons you." I find myself quite bewildered. My heart is palpitating. Sir, please direct me the way to the court of justice.
Oh, follow me, madam. So they both walk together. Yes, look, here is the courtroom. Pray, enter, enter, madam. So they both go inside. The old man, approaching the court judge, says,
May happiness attend you, most honored and reverend gentleman.
Madam, you're very welcome. Pray be seated.
Yes, your honor.
she seats herself, and then Sakara is distracted and says,
You are here, are you? You old bot.
now judge says,
Are you Vasant? Are you Vasant Sena's mother?
Of course.
Whither has Vasant Sena gone now?
To the house of a friend.
What is the name of that friend?
Alas, alas, this is highly shameful. This can be asked by ordinary men, but not by a judge.
Pray, do not be ashamed to speak out. The conduct of the case puts the question to you.
The law puts the question. There is not fault. Speaks out.
What? Legal procedure? If this is so, then listen, worthy gentlemen. There lives in the merchant's quarter the grandson of the merchant Vinaya Datta, the son of Sagara Datta, and his name, so auspicious to invoke in itself, is Charudatta. In his house my daughter enjoys the pleasure of youth.
Did you hear it, gentlemen? Let these words be written down. My complaint is against Charudatta.
It is no sin for Charudatta to be her friend.
The burden of proof is now shifted on Charudatta.
Exactly.
Dhanadatta, note down as the first head of this litigation that Vasant Sena went to the house of the worthy Charudatta. It cannot be helped, the worthy Charudatta also is to be summoned. At any rate, the course of the litigation demands his presence. Go, my good beadle, and summon worthy Charudatta, gently and calmly, without excitement, without giving cause for anxiety, and with due respect. Tell him, incidentally, the judge desires to see you.
Yes, your honor. So the beadle goes out and then returns with Charudatta. Come, come, sir, come. Charudatta enters the stage, and then Charudatta is seen reflecting. And Charudatta says, Shubhapriya Charudatta,
Yes, sir. The king is well aware of my character and the noble birth, and his summons really, therefore, indicates his suspicious attitude towards my wretched condition in life.
so he starts reflecting and speaks to himself.
Has the king perhaps observed that the person who escaped from the dungeons,
Dungeon, the jail, the
dun,
prison
the
house.
dungeon and who met me on the road was carried off by me in my chariot, or has the king, seeing through detectives, been informed of it? Why should I else be forced to walk thus, like a person accused of an offense? Rather, why should there be any deliberation about it? Shall I go to direct to the court of justice? My good Biddle, direct me the way to the courtroom.
Come along, sir. Come along. So they walk about, and then we find Charudatta is in a state of great apprehension because he thinks that as he has helped this man Arakya to escape, so he has been caught and brought to the justice. So Charudatta says,
And what means this? This court's
Crow, crow,
this
again a
crow
superstition.
shrieks very harshly. The ministerial servant call on me repeat, repeatedly, and my left eye throbs violently. Ah, that these evil omens torment me very much.
Follow me, sir, freely and without any excitement. So we find Charudatta is walking about and looking before him. Charudatta says,
Oh, ponder with a with your tree, a cord, a crow remains perched,
purged, purged,
perched,
sitting on the tree.
facing the sun, and it throws directly its mm, frightful glances against me.
So Charudatta starts avoiding the sight of the crow. He is very superstitious by nature. And he looks in another direction and speaks.
What a serpent here! The Lord is serpent who is mm,
Replens,
repellent
resplendent, res-
like a
yes,
piece of black,
resplendent. Speak again, resplendent, resplendent.
resplendent like a piece of black antimony, suddenly broken to pieces. Those tongue is long and
Quivering.
quivering, and who has four white fangs, slumbered here till I crossed his path, and now with its coiled and inflated belly, and with its eyes fixed full at me, it hastens towards
Hastens,
me,
hastens
has-
towards me.
hastens towards me in anger, and more than this, I stumble on the ground through the earth is not very wet. My left my left eye
Throb,
throbs,
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 throb. Yeah.
throbs. My left arm trims,
Trembles, trembles.
trembles repeatedly, and this another bird screamed
Screams terribly.
terribly, terribly so often. This all this portend a cruel and disastrous death.
Disastrous, disastrous death.
Disaster, sorry, sir. Disastrous death, and there needs not to be any doubt about it. Surely the gods will see that all may be wait well, yet well.
So we find this Charudatta, although he is the Neta or the hero of the play, is full of superstition. He is weak, he is timid, he believes in a lot of superstition and finds everything as an omen. So this type of weak character is Charudatta, but it also reveals his moral goodness, his innocence. As he has met Arakya, he thinks that the judge has summoned him and will be convicting him of the crime of meeting the rebel hero. The beadle comes and says, Come along, sir. Sir, come along. This is the courtroom. Pray, sir. Enter, sir. Charudatta enters and looks about. Charudatta says,
How wonderful and the splendid it is the court. It remains with its
It
curled.
resembles it. It is like it
It
resembles
resembles with its curls,
cruel agency, cruel
quills
agencies.
agencies of the ocean in itself, with all the murderous and the cruel elements. The counselors deep in
Deep
thought
in thought, they are all
thought
thinking. Counselors.
there uh, its waters envoys constitute its beloved billows and conches, and the mm, spies that stand out are its strikes and
Sharks and crocodiles. Sharks.
sharks and crocodiles. It is the ab- mm,
It is crowded.
abode
Yeah, it is the abode of
abode of elephants, horses, and the others
other
murderers
murderers.
murderous animals. It is crowded with the
Stocks,
strokes stalks of mm,
litigating parties.
getting parties that make noise in different ways. It is the resort of serpents in the guise of
Guise of scribe.
guise
The
of
disguise.
stripes, and
Disguise of
its
scribes.
disguise of stripes, and its banks are trodden
Trodden.
trodden smooth by signs of politics.
So here in this speech we find an excellent use of imagery drawn from nature. All the human beings are now being compared to the animals and the birds. And the entire setting of the court is described in such a way as if they are the world of ferocious, scavenging, predatory animals. And all these are looking at Charudatta as a prey. And Charudatta enters, his head dashes against the door, and he is reflecting. Charudatta says,
Well, alas, this is another evil omen. My left eye throbs. The crow shrieks very loudly, and my path is obstructed by the serpents. My safety now lies with gods alone. I shall, however, enter just now.
so he does so, and we see that Charudatta is also God fearing man. So he is not in a position to write his own destiny. He's so afraid. And now he leaves everything to gods to decide. And then he enters the courtroom. The judge says,
Really, this is Charudatta. His face is marked by a prominent nose and his eyes are large at the outer corners. Surely, this cannot be the abode of wantonly perpetrated crimes with elephants, cows, and horses, and much more with men. It is the case that good appearance is never without a similar excellent and noble con.
appearance, noble appearance. So Charudatta responds to this. Charudatta says,
O honorary officials of justice, my greeting to you. Officers of the justice, how do you do?
the judge is in a state of agitation. And with some agitation, he says,
Welcome to you, sir. My good beadle. Bring a seat for this gentleman.
so the beadle brings a seat for the gentleman, Charudatta. Here is a seat. Pray, be seated, sir. So Charudatta seats himself, but Sakara is very angry at the judge because the judge is giving favor to Charudatta, respecting Charudatta. So Sakara says,
You are here? Are you woman murderer? Is this a fair legal procedure or just one where seat is given to a woman murderer? Ha! Well, let it be given now.
Worthy Charudatta, have you any connection or friendship or at least attachment with this lady's daughter?
What lady?
This lady.
so The judge points to Vasantasina's mother, who has just come, and Charudatta rising. Charudatta says,
Madam, I salute you.
Long life to you, son. So this is the famous Charudatta. My daughter has pledged her youth in good hands.
So, is the courtesan your friend?
so Charudatta is almost bashful and betrays his bashful, displays it. So he's blushing because in the public court it is revealed that this is his girlfriend. Okay, quotation is his girlfriend. So Sakara says,
He tries to hide the wicked deed he committed, and he utters a lie from shame or fear. He himself knows the truth of wealth, and he now hides it.
Speak out, worthy Charudatta. Do not be ashamed. Indeed, this is a legal proceeding.
so Charudatta is in a state of shame and with feelings of shame. Charudatta says,
Honorary judges, how can I testify to the statement of the kind that a courtesan is my friend? Rather, youth is here heroine to blame and not character.
Look, this trial is full of troubles. Banish all reserve from your heart. Speak the truth. Enough of gravity, of deportment and quibbling won't be accepted here. Enough of your bashfulness. The legal proceeding puts the question to you.
Judges with whom have I lawsuit?
Sakara is very arrogant and says,
A lawsuit with me.
I too have a lawsuit with you. Really? It is the hard to endure.
You woman murderer, having murdered a woman like Vasantasena, adorned with hundreds of gems and ornaments, you now have become a cunning and tricky man and hide your crime.
You are really an abused fellow.
absurd fellow. So counter charge. Yes. Judge says,
Worthy Charudatta, enough of him. Speak the truth. Is the courtesan your friend?
She is.
So, where is Vasant Sena now?
She has gone home.
Speak out, sir.
She went home. What more shall I say?
She was enticed into my old garden, Pushpakaranda, and for the sake of gold, she was forcibly strangled and murdered there. But now you say that she has gone home.
Man, you are crazy and you are talking nonsense. You have not been sprinkled over with the waters of the clouds, and yet your face in the middle of the forehead and in the space between the eyebrows resembles very much the forewing forewings of the blue jay in the sky. This complaint of yours is evidently false, and
evidently
so
false.
false
False,
and
false.
false, false, and so it is that your face has become distribute of this
Destitute, destitute.
destitute destitute of its
Lustre.
luster like a lotus in winter.
So judge says an aside. To himself he is saying, the judge.
Charudatta is as it were to lift the lord of mountains or to cross the ocean, or it is as it were to hold the wind with our grasp. Aloud, this
Okay.
is the noble Charudatta. How could he commit this crime?
So he keeps repeating the words. His face is marked, so he looks so good, and such a noble fellow is he that he cannot commit such a crime. Sakara says.
Hey, why this partiality in a legal proceeding?
Hey, begone, you fool! Low born and illiterate as you are, you expound the meaning of the Vedas, and yet your tongue does not drop down lifeless. You gaze at the midday sun, but yet your eyes are not blinded at once. You thrust your hand into the blazing fire, and yet it is not burnt down. You deprive Sarudatta of his reputable character, and yet the earth hasn't gulped you, for you gulped up your frame. How could the noble Charudatta commit a crime? By him, the mighty sea has been rendered bereft of everything except only the swelling waters, and he distributed all his riches without the expectation of any return whatever. He is the sole receptacle of all virtuous and magnanimous deeds. And how could such a high souled personage as he commit, for the sake of wealth, a sinful deed, which even an enemy will not think of doing?
You scoundrel! When the golden casket which was deposited with him was stolen by thieves at night, he gave in place of it a pearl necklace that was the pride of the four seas. And how could such a person now perpetrate this sinful deed for the mere trifle of gold? Oh, my child, come back to me, my daughter.
So she starts weeping, having lost the child. She is more worried about the death of her child, the judge says.
Worthy Charudatta, did she go on foot or in a chariot?
She did not go in my presence. Therefore, I do not know whether she on foot or in a chariot.
So now we find Viraka. Viraka enters, and this Viraka is in a state of anger. Viraka says, yeah, can someone play Viraka?
The dishonoring and insulting kick has roused in me a dire and deadly animosity, and so I brooded, till at last the night yielded to the drowning light. So now I will approach the court of justice. May happiness
So
attend you.
Viraka enters the court and then says, may happiness attend you, worthy sirs. The judge says,
Ah, it is Viraka, the city guard. Viraka, what brings you here?
I was looking for Aryaka when it was all excitement that he had broken loose from the chains. I suspected a covered chariot that was coming and was about to inspect it while I said, "You have inspected it, and now I shall also inspect it." Just then I was kicked with the feet by the highly respectable Chandanaka. Having heard this, you, honoured gentlemen, will decide what to do.
so a new petition has come. You remember Chandranaka had kicked Viraka in order to allow Arakya to escape. And so Viraka has come to make this complaint, lodge this complaint. The judge says,
My good man, do you know whose chariot it was?
It was the chariot of Charudatta, this gentleman here. It was told by the driver of the chariot that Vasantasena was mounted on it and was being taken to the old garden Pushpakaranda to sport therein.
Sakara says. So a new evidence has already come. So the chariot has already carried Vasanta Sena to Pushpakaranda. So this is an evidence. Actually, instead of Vasanta Sena, who was there in that chariot? It was Arakya. But Viraka was not allowed to see who was there inside. So he had this feeling that Vasanta Sena was there in the chariot and was going to Pushpakaranda. So he gives this evidence. Sakara says,
So listen to that too.
Alas, this moon, though spotless bright, is now eclipsed by Rahu. The banks have fallen down, and the waters are soiled that once were bright and clear. We will investigate your case here later. Mount the horse that remains at the entrance of this court, go to the garden Pushpakaranda and see if there is a dead woman there or not.
Yes, Your Honor.
so he goes
I,
out and then enters again. Viraka says,
I have been there, and I saw the body of a woman there that is being eaten up by jackals. How did you know that it was the body of a woman? I perceived that from the traces of hair and arms and hands and feet.
Alas, the ways of the world are indeed very mysterious, and hard to learn. The more skillfully we investigate it, the harder and more complicated does it become. Ah, the rules of law are very clear, but the mind labors like a cow in a
quagmire.
quagmire.
A
Quagmire.
cow stuck, yeah, quagmire, quicksand. The cow is stuck in the quicksand. So law is clear, but human mind is like a cow stuck in the quagmire. Charudatta then speaks to himself.
Just in the same way as bees, when the first flowers begin to bloom, crowd to the ship the honey, so too in a man's times of calamity his misfortune multiply with the opening of every weak point.
Worthy Charudatta, speak out the truth.
He is a person of wicked disposition, and he is envious of the other's excellence. He is blind by passions, and he is desirous desirous of murdering another. Is that which a man like him lies of out of a general evil nature to be accepted in this court of justice? It is not worth designing, considering at all, considering at all, and more than this, I never drag rudely a blossomed creeper of for the sake of flowers, and thereby gather its flowers. How could then such a person as I seize a
She is a damsel. I catch
seize
as
a
a damsel.
damsel by her long and lovely
Tresses,
treasures
hair, tresses,
that
TRESS, tresses.
treasures that are as bright as the wings of bees, and kill her while she is screaming.
Hello, judges. How can you investigate the case with such partiality? Why, even now, you let this accursed Charudatta remain in his seat?
My good Beryl, let it be done accordingly.
So the beadle does so, and Charudatta says.
Consider, judges, consider what you are doing.
So he leaves his seat and sits on the floor now. Sakara is now dancing in joy because he has already won the case and now he speaks to himself.
Glad the sinful deed that was committed by me is thrown on another man's head. So I will sit where Charudatta was seated. Look at me,
So he
Charudatta,
takes
and
the chair.
confess that you murdered her.
Charudatta says,
Judges, oh Maitreya, why now this ruin of my ah, my dear wife, you are born of the stainless Brahman family, and Rohasena, you don't understand my misfortune, and you delight wrongly and in vain when others are
plunged,
plunged
immersed in misery.
in miseries. Maitreya was sent by me to Vasantasena in the order that he might get tinged,
Tidings of her.
tidings of her, and might restore the jewels which were given by her on account of the toy cart. Why then does he linger?
So he reminds the judge that Maitri was there and Maitri has asked me to go there in order to return the jewels. Maitri will be coming with the jewels that Vasantasena has given on account of the toy card Mrichchhakatika to the small boy Rohasena. Maitreya enters and too with jewels. So prima case will be filed. Uh, Evidence is to be there in the court. Let us see Maitreya. Someone play Maitreya?
So can I?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I have been sent by worthy Charudatta to Vasantasena to return her ornaments, and he said to me, Maitreya, Vasantasena adorned my dear Rahasena with her own ornaments and sent him to his mother. She deserves to be given ornaments, but not we to receive them. Therefore, restore them to her. So now I will go to Vasantasena directly.
So he walks about and looks around, and
What?
then in the air he speaks.
What? Master Ravila? Master Ravila, why do you look so confused and agitated?
Listening.
What? Do you mean to say that my dear friend Charudatta has been summoned to court? Then it can hardly be for an insignificant matter.
Starts reflecting.
So I will go to Vasantasana's house later, but in the meanwhile I shall go to the court of justice.
So he walks about and looks around.
Here is the courtroom. I will go in immediately.
Enters the courtroom.
May happiness attend you, offers of justice. Where is my dear friend?
Here he is.
Friend, I wish you happiness.
It shall be mine.
Are you doing well?
That too will come to be.
Dear friend, why do you look agitated and troubled? And why were you summoned?
Friend, by me a cruel sinner who is ignorant of another world and damsel or the better Rati herself. He will tell you the rest.
What?
That is it.
Who tells that?
So Charudatta is pointing to Sakara. Charudatta says,
Fate directs this pitiable fellow to be the instrument of my end.
So Maitreya is giving an aside to Charudatta.
Why
Maitreya says,
don't you simply say that she went home?
Even though I say it is not accepted as true, owing to the unfortunate plight in which I am.
Oh, gentlemen, he adorned the city of Ujjaini with mansions, monasteries, parks, temples, tanks, wells, and sacrificial posts. And could such a person as he commit, because he is poor, a sinful deed of the kind for the mere trifling thing of gold?
now
You
he's in
son of
great
a
anger.
slave wench, you brother. You son of a slave wench, you brother-in-law of the king Samasthanaka. You libertine, you slanderer, you buffoon, you glided monkey, say it before me, how, my dear friend, who does not gather flowers by dragging the blossom jasmine creeper, for fear that the twig by being so drawn would be broken asunder? How such a person could commit a sinful deed of this kind that is censurable in the eyes of both the worlds? Stay for a time, you son of a bod. Stay a while. I will split your head into 100 pieces with this staff of mine, which is as sharp as your heart.
So Sakara is also very angry. Now Sakara has already won the case, and now angrily he says,
Listen to this. My contention, rather my lawsuit, is against Charudatta. What right has this man who has a head that looks a carrot to split my head into 100 pieces, huh? Not so much, you son of a slave wench, you wicked fellow.
so Maitreya is also ready to fight. He raises his staff and repeats the above said word again. Hey, how dare you? He repeats the word. Sakara rises angrily and strikes him. Maitreya also strikes doubly in return. So they beat each other. So on the stage, we find two persons fighting. During the shuffle, what happens? The ornaments fall from Maitreya's girdle. Remember that ornament that Vasantasena has given to the small boy in the toy cart? And Sakara gets this evidence. He picks up the jewels, examines them, and with great fear and excitement, Sakara says,
Look, gentlemen, look, really, these are the ornaments of that pitiable damsel.
so pointing to Charudatta, he says.
For a trifling thing of this, she was murdered and killed too.
So judges, all of them remain with their head bent down. So they have already seen the evidence there. And Charudatta now gives an aside to Maitreya. Charudatta says,
These ornaments, which fell down because of the mm, absences of
Adverseness, misfortune,
adverseness
adverseness of my fate.
of my fate, and which thus became open to view at such an ill hour as this, will certainly cause my ruin.
Sir, why don't you simply tell the truth?
My friend, the royal eye is so, short striked, and so
Sighted,
does
short sighted.
sighted,
Royal eye,
and so does not perceive the
perceive,
mm,
see the
perceive
realities.
reality. Speaking truth results in merry misery, and it the glorious death is its end.
Alas, alas, another planet has risen like a comet by the side of Jupiter, who is himself powerless, and who has the planet Mars opposed to him.
Guild president and clerk, he is beholding the ornament, taking that ornament as evidence, and then takes that ornament to Vasantasena's mother.
Madam, look at these ornaments attentively and see if they are the same or not.
So the mother of Vasantasena, the old woman, is looking at the ornaments and then she says,
They are similar but not the same.
Oh, you old bod, you confess it with your eyes but hide it with your lips.
Away, you scoundrel!
Speak carefully. Are those ornaments the same or not?
Sir, the workman's skill captivates the eye, but really they are not the same.
My good woman, do you recognize these jewels?
I say they are not the same, and I don't recognize them. Rather, it may be that they were perhaps made by the same workman.
Guild President, see, of course, ornaments prepared by human agency can well resemble one another. Workmen, after the analogy of one can, by the dexterity of their hand, fashion another which will be exactly identical with the prototype.
Do these ornaments belong to Charudatta?
Charudatta is a fool.
No, no.
He says no, no. So while the mother is trying to save Charudatta, Charudatta simply, candidly, frankly says, no, no, these ornaments do not belong to him. Yes, guild president and clerk says.
Then whose are those?
Charudatta. Charudatta says, they belong to the daughter of this worthy lady. See, while the old woman was trying to rescue Charudatta, Charudatta candidly, confessedly says, he is of a noble birth, a noble character, truthful, he cannot tell lie. So he says they belong to the daughter of this worthy lady. Now guild president and clerk says,
Then how are those removed from her?
Charudatta says, thus they were separated. Yes, in this way, guild president and clerk says,
Worthy Charudatta, truth must be spoken here. See, by speaking truth, happiness is obtained in this world, and no sin is committed when truth is spoken. Truth is a word of two sacred syllables, and so don't hide truth by uttering a lie.
Charudatta now says that he doesn't recognize the ornament as ornaments. But he understands, I understand that they were taken from my house. Now Sakara has a point. Sakara says,
You have noticed, you have
enticed.
enticed her into the garden and murdered, and now you hide it by deceitful and cunning tricks.
Worthy Charudatta, let truth be narrated. Undoubtedly, the heavy lashes shall frown relentlessly on your tender body, and along with them our desires also shall fall.
So now Charudatta is being warned by the judge that he will be punished for the crime. Charudatta now says he is trying to confess that what he has committed. He says, I was born of a family of sinless persons, and I commit no sin. If I am deemed by you to be a sinner, then what avails my being sinless? Now he gives an aside. There is no use of my life at all when I am deprived of Vasant Sena. Sir, why waste words? By my cruel, by me a cruel sinner who has not known the two worlds, a damsel, or better a gem. He will say the rest. Nasakara says.
Was. Hey, you can't say I killed her.
Yeah, you have said it.
Listen, my masters, listen. He murdered her. He alone. Sargan, let capital punishment be inflicted on this poor Charudatta.
Beadle, we must do as the king's brother-in-law says. Guardsmen, let this Charudatta be taken prisoner.
So the guardsmen they come and take Charudatta. So old woman says.
Be pacified, good gentlemen. Be merciful.
So she keeps repeating what she had said before, beginning when the golden casket, etc., etc., and she keeps on murmuring
If
and
my
then
daughter is
continues.
killed, she is killed. Let him live a long life for my sake. Besides, the legal proceeding is between the complainant and the accused. I am the real complainant, so let him go free.
Begone, you born slave! Go away! What have you to do with this?
Go, madam. Guardsmen, conduct her forth.
Oh, my child, my son.
So the woman, old woman, goes out weeping. Sakara now speaks to himself.
I have done in respect of this individual something worthy of myself. Now I will go.
So he also exits. The judge is there. Judge says,
Worthy Charudatta, the decision lies with us, but the rest depends on the king. And yet, Beadle, let this be submitted to the notice of the king Palaka. This convicted culprit is a Brahmin, and Manu says that the capital punishment cannot be inflicted on such a one. He may be banished from our realm with all his wealth uninjured.
look at this reference. He is talking about Manu's code of conduct, Manusmriti. And according to Manusmriti, even if a Brahmin has committed a sin, a crime, he cannot be given death sentence. So he should be banished from the realm. And I leave it to King Palaka to decide on this. So the beadle, listening to that, says, Yes, Your Honor. So the beadle goes out and then re enters in tears. Oh, sir, I had been there. And King Palaka says, In as much as he killed Vasantasena for the trifle of wealth, these same jewels shall be hung about his neck. A drum shall be beaten. He shall be conducted to the southern burial ground and there impaled. And whosoever else shall commit such a crime shall be punished with like dreadful doom. So we find this type of judgment coming from King Palaka. King Palaka has not pardoned Charudatta in spite of Charudatta being Brahmin. And according to Manusmriti, a Brahmin can be pardoned. So a death sentence has been given to Charudatta, and Charudatta then accepts it. Uh, how wanton and inconsiderate is the king, is this act of the king Palaka. Rather, it is in this way the rulers of the earth throw by their ministers into the fire of such sort of equity, most rightly attain a miserable plight and become foul sinners. And again, it is through men of this type that are servile and timid and cunning and that are pervert the king's true sense of justice, that thousands of innocent people were killed and are continued to be killed even today. My friend, Maitreya, go and salute the Divine Mother in my name. Look after my son Rohan Sena. Maitreya says,
When the root is cut away, how can the tree be saved?
No, not so. When man departs to world above, the reflection of him yet remains in his son. So whatever love you have for me, let it be bestowed for me on my son Rohan Sena.
Oh, dear friend, being your dear friend, how can I preserve my life when I am deprived of you?
You look after Rohan Sena too so well.
I will. It is quite proper.
My good beadle, take away this fellow.
So the beadle does so, takes away Charudatta. Charudatta is already arrested and he will be executed. Judge says.
Who is there? Let orders be given to Chandalas.
So guardsmen lose their hold on Charudatta and all of them go out. The beadle says, "Come here, sir." Now we find Charudatta mournfully repeating the verse already said, beginning with, "My friend Maitreya, please look after Rohan Sena, please look after Rohan Sena. If my trial I was put to the test of poison, water, scale, or fire, and had I fallen therein, then it should have been decided that the sword might be applied to this body. But as you slay me, an innocent Brahman, on the mere malicious charge of an enemy, you shall be hurled into the very interior regions of the hell, together with your sons, grandsons, and all others of your progeny. I am coming just now. So Charudatta also leaves the stage. So this is already tragic. A death sentence has been offered, given, and Charudatta has been convicted, while previously he was an accused. Sakara brought false charges against Charudatta, and in the court of law, the evidence that is put on the court is all important. Although the old woman, Vasantasina's mother, tries to save Charudatta, Charudatta, because of his truthfulness, tells the truth that these ornaments are actually given by Vasantasena. Sakara uses this opportunity and says that because of this, he has actually killed Vasantasena. So here, Act 9 ends in a tragic note. So we will see what happens in the last act of this play. So next day we will read this. Okay, stay safe, stay sane. Thank you very much for your reading and participation. So we'll meet again next
Thank you,
Monday.
sir.
Thank you. Tata. Tata.
Thank you,
Stay safe.
sir.
Bye, sir.
Tata.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, sir.
Bye.
Bye.